introducing Rabbi Posen. We're here in Yerushalayim. And Rabbi, you remember Rabbi Schonfeld, Rabbi Solomon Schonfeld. What do you remember with Rabbi Schonfeld?
Well, I first tell you, his father was Nifta on Chanukah, Tofresh Sadi Aleph, which is the end of 1930, right? And he was only a boy of 17. And Rabbi Ferber was one of the big rabbanim in London at that time. At Levi said, Al Kisar Yeshuv Zohar, you must take a son. But his son wasn't ready for it, so he went to the Nitra Yeshiva in Czechoslovakia, and he was learning there for a couple of years. Then he came back to London, and he took over to be the rabbi from the Adas Yisrael, which later on became the Union of Orthodox Hebrew Congregations. And by the late 30s, all the refugees came over from Germany after the pogroms, Kristallnacht, in November 1938. So he prepared singly, virtually took on singly, because he already had a big school. I went to that school, but we were all evacuated from London. That means all the children, there were about 3 million children in London, were taken out to villages and small towns in the provinces to be away safely from the bombing in London. And so it was our school. I think it was 500 or 700 children there. And we were all lined up. We were there every day, Wednesday and Thursday, end of August, 30th and 31st, waiting to be evacuated. I remember my wife still, we were together evacuated at that time with little children. I wasn't bar mitzvah yet. And we were all lined up. Now, I had an oldest brother who was already 18, and my father said, the decision whether you go be evacuated or not, I leave to you. You're big enough to take a decision. So he said, all right, I'm going and see what's happening. And then Rabbi Schonfeld held a big speech. I remember what he said. We in the case of emergency, we must try to keep what we can, but certain things we'll have to be careful, because after we're Jewish and we come to Goyim, we've never seen a Jew. So he said, anybody who's not willing to comply should leave now and not make any difficulties. So I remember in front of the whole school, my brother went up and said, under these conditions, I'm not going. Because he was already 18, he didn't have to go. But then we all went, and Rabbi Schonfeld, I must say, he managed the whole thing singly. All the older Balbatim and the killer somehow were asleep. And he did, as a young man of 27, did the whole thing. I don't think he was 27 yet. He did the whole thing on his own. He used to, by car, travel from the countryside to London to bring kosher meat, kosher sausages. And he really, people didn't help him. And that was in the middle of trying to make Hatzolah for all the other Jews who came over. In those days, he didn't really have where to put the children. And he had to guarantee to the government that they were safe. So he took, his mother was away, so he took over the whole house and put children everywhere. And he singly saved a lot of children in those days. That was in 1938, 39. The same thing happened again in 45, 46, when he saved the children who survived, that they shouldn't be caught up with the communists in East Europe. And again, he virtually did the whole thing single-handed. And I remember at the end, and cutting a long story short, jumping many years, at much later, about 20 years later or more, he wasn't well at all, he had operations, etc. And there was difficulty to find finances to finance it, whereas people who were saved, their lives were saved by him, didn't come forward. It was a terrible thing. There was a big Rebbe in London who came from here to London, and he said his deeds are so big, he can't get reward in this world. It's all kept for the next world. And that's why he's suffering now, so he shouldn't suffer later on. So all I can say, Schuße Yogen Oleno.
Thank you so much. But they
nice.
say it's wonderful. He saved over 3,000. They say he saved over 3,000. He brought over.
Yeah, more even, but I don't know how many. I don't know, but he was, what he did, and never got recognition of what he did. Hardly. And my wife will tell you as well what she told, that even on the shiva, people came over, people didn't recognize what he had done. And I tell you one thing, anybody who does work for the public should do it knowing he will be rebuked and not get thanks, because nobody ever thanks those people who really do the work. I know this when I believe Mikve. I tell the Badabatim who work for it, he says, you must work not because you get recognition, you get blame if it's no good. If it's good, nobody will say thank you.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you.